We are just about to begin the big conversation with our regular analyst, Ambrose Weda. And as I mentioned moments ago, this has been quite a week of drama in national politics. And so there's so much to discuss on the big conversation with our regular analyst, Ambrose Weda, who wears many hats: advocate, High Court of Kenya, published author and mentor, canon in the Anglican Church. And Weda is currently enjoying the Holy Week at the lakeside. Good morning, Weda.
Good morning, Julie. How are you doing?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing great, Julie.
Enjoying the Holy Week from the lakeside?
Yes, working week.
All right. Now, Weda, we start the show on a very sad note. Reports just in saying that Kiambaa Member of Parliament Paul Koinange has died of COVID-19 complications at the Nairobi Hospital this morning. He, of course, served as the chairperson of the National Assembly Administration and Security Committee. Weda, what are your thoughts following the death of Paul Koinange?
That is very sad news, very sad indeed. We pass our condolences to the family, the community, the constituency. It's very sad indeed actually losing a person of his stature, especially to COVID. Mm-hmm. I just wish to continue reminding fellow members of the Republic of Kenya that we should not have naysaying about the vaccine, stories and lies and propaganda. Let us encourage people to go for it. Let us encourage the government to buy as many doses as possible. Mm-hmm. We have to fight this thing. We have to observe the regulations, the protocols that have been put. Otherwise, we are really at a great risk. And it is really sad indeed.
Just a few days ago, Weda, former U.S. President Barack Obama's grandmother, Mama Sarah Obama, passed on. This is Monday morning and was buried yesterday according to the Muslim tradition and rites, where she was a member. She'll be remembered for championing education and women empowerment, among other initiatives, before she died. A lot of tributes, including from Barack Obama and President Uhuru Kenyatta, were sent. Let's begin with Kisumu Governor Professor Anyang' Nyong'o.
Let's thank God that she has been a foundation for great things. Let those great things not be forgotten. But those of us who are blessed to live up to her, build on them and make them even greater.
Kenya has lost a virtuous woman and a champion of family values. Despite her limited formal education, Mama Sarah used her God-given talents and skills to impact positively the lives of the most vulnerable in society. Mama Sarah remained accessible and interacted freely with persons from all walks of life.
Well, what stands out in every speech is that Mama Sarah supported the widows and education for less fortunate people, even though she wasn't educated herself. In the president's speech, something came out as well, the fact that she was accessible despite the fame that must have come from being an Obama. Can you imagine reversed roles with some of our leaders in the country?
Thank you. I think now people are saying, Sir Obama, he was good culture and all this education. People have to associate because the grandson was senator then president. One thing for me, I remember her for being the bridge for the bridge at the Obama family. When the grandson was not known, when the grandson would have easily been referred to as Chotara or Mudungu, he embraced the grandson, welcomed them, the grandson and the granddaughter, the daughter-in-law. Mm-hmm. When actually they went to an hotel somewhere in Tumaini House, and we refused to serve them. People refused to recognize them. People ignored them. He embraced them. He was with them. He loved them. He provided a base, notwithstanding it was not the real grandmother. That is the beginning, and that shows the heart that she had. You could see the pictures they took. You could see they would go to the market with the grandson and the wife. And that's the kind of grandmother you ask God and say, God, this is a wonderful grandmother. Others would have just risen and said, what is this Mudungu or Chotara bringing to me? So that is the beginning. That is what showed her heart. And thereafter, when she rose to fame, she was still simple. She still allowed people to access her, and then she picked up things that built the society. She embraced society. She didn't embrace pride and arrogance like some of our leaders are. You see, these leaders who are praising her are same people you can't greet them. When you greet them, they want to wave at you. Same leaders now, the ones who are talking, they work with a cottage of security men and women. Some even have their own hotels, restaurants, and so on. But now they are saying, Mama Sarah Obama, very humble, girl child education. Some of these who are talking are still in public funds. They same gorokos. So, it's fallacious. It is sad. So we glorify Mama Sarah Obama for the role, for embracing her grandson, giving her base. The very best now when he decided to run in America, he was able to qualify and say, I am not a slave, I am not a descendant of a slave, I am a descendant of a very decent family. My father was very brilliant, highly educated. I have my family. I now know where. So people did not take him in the category of former slave or slave ancestry. Why is there a problem with slave ancestry? They are very bitter people. Very bitter. They want to ban the whole world.
Now,
so that's all she played, and it was very good.
Moving from transition of Mama Sarah Obama and, of course, Paul Koinange, Member of Parliament for Kiambaa, let's look at the lockdown now, whether residents of Nairobi, Machakos, Kiambu, Kajiado and Nakuru are still coming to terms with the new executive orders announced by President Uhuru Kenyatta on Friday. They were later clarified by the government spokesperson Cyrus Oguna, where a movement window was granted up to Sunday, 8 p.m. Curfew hours were revised to commence at 8 p.m. in those referred to as disease-infected zone. Learning activities suspended, no congregational worship, no countryside political gatherings. All these until further notice.
This wave is expected to peak in the next 30 days with more than 2,500 to 3,000 cases being reported daily. Based on our previous experience, this peak will flatten only by mid-May 2021, which is about 60 days from now. That fully conscious that 70% of Kenya's reported cases of COVID-19 have been recorded in the counties of Nairobi, Kajiado, Machakos, Kiambu, and Nakuru. These counties are individually and collectively declared a disease-infected area.
Now, when this announcement was made, not many people seem to have understood the president, and later Oguna had to clarify issues. What do you think happened to that speech?
I think it was a shock. It was a shock to people. The president also was a bit angry, and therefore people thought as we have come out of the lockdown and we now have protocols and we have this, there would not be lockdown. So because of the shock, people did not get it clearly. And then it also came as a huge surprise, although some of us could foresee it. When you look at the numbers as they grow, you see big people dying, you see problems escalating, you hear that the hospital beds are full, the ICU beds are full, then obviously you know there is problem. I know people who are close to me. The legal profession has lost almost 50 lawyers in the last 1 month. Lawyers, 50 of them in the last one, and we are hardly 15,000. So it came as a shock. People were shocked, and it also did not take into account the fact that people are moving around and therefore needed just time. Very well. But the politicians, led by the big man himself, Boss Munyewa, and his deputy, and the Prime Minister, and the others, they should themselves say, God, we made a mistake and it is wrong and we should never repeat it.
Now, Interior CS Dr. Fred Matiang'i has directed police officers to use less force in enforcing these new measures. He says this time round, the police will employ persuasion as a means of instilling compliance among the members of the public. Listen to this, Weda.
Agreed with my colleagues in the security sector. We are going to do our best to enforce the measures. This time, we have all agreed we will do so, first of all, from a very strong commonsensical point of view. So, we are going to persuade our people to sikizane tafadhali, to bebeane misiko kidogo. Let us be understanding, reduce negative pressures and negative issues, and do the best we can. We've asked our security officers, wherever they meet wananchi, kama kuna shida, tunajaribu kushauri watu wetu.
Whether there's always been this notion that there's a difference between what the president says and what the police hear. What do you think of the manner in which the enforcement is being done this time round?
Yeah, I've not experienced it, but normally it is a boon for making money. Make money. When you do these lockdowns and people have to move, they have to go for funerals, they have to look for food, they have to do all these things. Sometimes you find yourself late. the curfew finds you late and all these things, you are traveling from one corner to the other, there's a breakdown, and the vehicle breaks down, all these problems, the police say, hallelujah, praise the Lord, there is money. So, that's what they are being asked to police. You know, some of them, I remember one time I was driving from one of these places at night. They had a curfew. You'll find some police officers when you stop, they say, hello, habari mheshimiwa mzuri, how are you doing? Na mmechelewa wapi, unaona saa ni mbaya sana. Nasema sorry fande, mimi nilikuwa hapa lakini nimefika uko na kibali, nasema hii iko kibali kidogo lakini sio ni kibali kibali niko naye lakini it's not also good for be late. I'm just rushing to go and nini. And someone says, Safiri Salama, are you safe? Are you okay? You go to the next place, Julie. Mtu anauliza kwa mbali, ni sangapi? Sengepe. Kuja chini, sengepe. Habari ufuyapande kazi iko namna gani? Wacha masalamu nyingi. Kachene sangapi ufuyapande. Nataka wate. So, because for me, I'm generally very polite to those who do their work, to the authority, and they do their work, whether you are an askari, whoever you are. So you find one person, they're like, hey, hello, are you safe? Things are over. No, but it looks late. Another one saying so they want to disagree so that when they find you in the wrong, they tell you, the fine. The fine is 20,000.
Yes.
20,000. So 20 kotini. No, you say no minisane. Nasema nini? So from 20,000 you can't say niko na 200. Lasima from the maximum there must be some good negotiation. So I think even brother Matiang'i knows that they need to be told so that they deal with Kenyans a bit more lightly. And people are mad, by the way. People are very mad. If they were to enforce it very, very hard and rough, you never know. People can just rise and say we are going to fight.
Speaking of people being angry, whether there have been quite some reactions from the public regarding this emergency order. Once again, it is job losses in areas affected like hotels, the tourism industry, transport industry. Cost of living has shot up. NAC Kenya leader Martha Karua says the political class is to blame for the consequences of COVID-19 third wave, not the citizens, by imposing stringent measures on them. Listen.
The lockdown is but a haphazard measure that will only create more suffering to the vulnerable without any tangible benefit. Kenyans will recall that a majority of citizens zealously observed the COVID-19 protocols and that it is the top political class who led their supporters into mass rallies. A lockdown is not an end in itself. It is supposed to slow community transmission while giving the country adequate time to prepare to respond to the pandemic.
Even the church feels victimized by the restrictions and have complained that they should have been left open because they have controlled and followed the protocols, and that it is actually the politicians that were the super spreaders and made the situation worse.
Yes, thank you, Julie. I think let me comment first on my big sister, Martha Karua.
Yes.
The last time she was in public office, full power, she was known for ruthlessness and arrogance. So we don't know whether she has been born again, that today if she was in power, she would have considered wananchi and so on and so forth. But the last time she was minister, she was very rude. So she'll not be the first person to complain. When it comes to the churches, I think the churches have played the role very well. They have been very compliant. And then when there are issues like this, there are serious emotional problems that you need to turn to the Lord. It needs the saints to gather and counsel one another, teach one another, share with one another. So it is very painful that the restrictions have to be imposed, and they are being imposed by the perpetrators, those who have led us where we are today, why I can tell you after the restrictions, the president himself, my president, my boss, my big brother, Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta, would lead a huge rally at Kwamaiko. He would go there in Dandora, wherever they are talking, doing BBI and doing the rallies, irregardless, to use his word, on the COVID. Then his brother, the chief chicken seller himself, is doing it both along the streets, big rallies, and also in his house in Kare. Then followed by Baba Mwenyewe, Baba, rallies. Then now the others, Mudavadi, Kalonzo, they are running and jumping. When you saw them in Kabuchai and the rest, people are thumping their chests and running. In fact, they are the super spreaders. They are generals in enabling the spread of COVID. So when it is also them to impose these restrictions upon Mama Mboga, upon kiosk owners, upon restaurant proprietors, it is very, very, very painful. They needed to have started with an apology. They needed to have said, we did this, it was a mistake. But we are correcting our mistake as we also do this. The fact that they didn't apologize, they just came with fiat, that is very painful.
You also remember...
And that is the part people are complaining about.
You remember whether that the president ordered suspension of parliamentary sittings, but that seems to have been defied, at least if this statement by the National Assembly Speaker, Justin Muturi, is anything to go by.
That with the concurrence of the parliamentary leadership of both houses of parliament, the ordinary sessions of the august house, including those of their committees, are hereby suspended until further notice.
I did point out that for parliament, we cannot be suspended, we cannot be adjourned or directed to adjourn, except as we desire through our own resolutions. It is pursuant to that advice that we, the two speakers, agreed that we will convene our houses as was planned in our calendar.
Parliament will not be adjourned unless by their own, concession and their own saying that, we will adjourn or will not adjourn. How is that statement even possible after the presidential directive?
I think the president made a mistake. You don't order. There's nowhere in law where you order institutions. They cannot just wake up and say, I've closed the judiciary for now. I've ordered this. I've ordered parliament. That was wrong. And I think the president speaker was right. The way you should have put it, you would have achieved the same results, but using different words. You would have said to provide leadership, to provide good example, to move on. We also request that the instruments of parliament, the instruments of the judiciary, also work quickly to put into place this kind of directives we are putting so that we put back the country back to normal. You don't just say, I now direct that parliament stops, I now direct the police stop working, I now direct judiciary stop. Those who crafted the speech, they also need retraining at the Kenya Institute of Administration. We can also teach them how to use words to achieve and to do things, because good words and bad words. Words have energy. They can burn, they can make, they can destroy, they can also kill. So I think he could have achieved the same results, but using different words. The word I direct actually brings people to war, and then it contravenes the Constitution. It's like the Constitution has been suspended, which is not the case. This is a temporary thing. It will end. We are not all going to die. Kenya will move forward, irregardless of COVID or any other thing.
If you're just joining us on the big conversation this morning, we are delighted to host our regular analyst, Ambrose Weda, advocate of High Court of Kenya, published author and mentor and canon in the Anglican Church, currently enjoying the Holy Week at the Lakeside. So he's joining us on phone this morning. Weda, we finally saw you take the COVID jab in Kombewa and celebrated it on Facebook. How was that?
Thank you, Julie. First and foremost, I'm very grateful that we reached here. I wanted my own people, our people, to see. There's a general belief that the COVID in Nairobi, the vaccine in Nairobi, is a better one. The one here are water, or these are the fake ones that KEMSA brings. And then secondly, people are this rumor that the vaccine brings clots, blood clots, it dries. So the people who are actually liable, who are eligible at first, did not want to go. They didn't want to do it, especially the older people. I know even was those who are neighboring my home. They were saying, we are watching. We are watching. So as one of their sons that they know is not a small guy. You know, Julia, I'm not a small guy.
No, you're not a small guy.
You tell them you actually inspire confidence. So that was an act, first and foremost, to inspire confidence in the vaccine, in the process. Secondly, also to secure myself. And thirdly, also to show the world that somehow let's have confidence, let's move on, let's do the little we can do to protect ourselves and to protect others. And I'm telling you, it is very good. You know, as I live in town, Kombewa is almost a city. Oh, yes, of great people. People like Weda, Lupita Nyong'o. We are great people.
So finally, we also saw your big brother, President Uhuru Kenyatta, together with his wife, Margaret Kenyatta, publicly taking the jab at the steps of State House. Deputy President William Ruto took it yesterday. Health CS Mutahi Kagwe also followed suit. Here was the message from the president on the vaccine.
In view of the high morbidity and mortality rates among those who are above 50 years of age, those above 58 years of age shall be vaccinated as a priority during this first vaccination phase. Tukubali kuchanjwa, tusipotoshwe na uongo mwingi, ndio tujiokoe na tuokoe taifa letu la Kenya.
It's interesting whether earlier you talked about you inspiring confidence. Surely this will boost the confidence of Kenyans that the president and his deputy have taken the jab, right?
Oh, yes. In fact, when they started giving out the jobs, people are like, why is, they use the name Uhunye? Why is Uhunye not taking? And it was a very serious issue in the social media all over, the deputy. So people are like, they have brought fake ones. This must be fake ones. So that act, some of us now, some would ask you privately, say, no, these leaders, they have been given. If they are being given, they are given now the second round. But it boosts confidence. It shows that we are all on the same level, and it is good. So what they did was very good. We would have wished that they take it together, the deputy president and the president. Otherwise, we tend to think maybe the president took a superior one, the deputy took another one. And we also wanted Baba himself to be, would have gathered all these leaders, then they take, and then it's something televised live. Then we say, now you go and get it.
Speaking of
and
which,
we are in it. If the blood is going to dry, after your president, itakauka. After your deputy,
itakauka.
So first, after your Biden, Joe Biden and Obama.
Speaking of superior vaccines, whether you just got the words from my mouth, there's this information that's been doing the rounds on social media that the Russian vaccine Sputnik is the best. Apparently, this is the vaccine that the deputy president is believed to have taken yesterday. Let's listen to Patrick Amoth on mixing of vaccines.
You are given the first vaccine as AstraZeneca, then 8 weeks later you want to take Sputnik or Moderna. We still don't have evidence, but the guideline and the recommendation of WHO and most of the manufacturers is that you can't mix and match for the vaccines.
You can't mix and match for the vaccines. Whether do you think there's enough information out there for the people to know how the vaccines are to be taken?
You can. I'm not a doctor, but I have a son who is deep inside. We are mixing vaccines. We have how many vaccines? I did monococcal just the other day. There are several vaccines running in our body, and they are made from different bases. If the base science differs slightly, so whatever you get for now, when it comes to my view is whatever you get for now, when it comes to COVID, just try it. We are trying Maji and Dimu. We are trying, what do we call them?
Ginger.
Masala. Ginger. Yeah, we are in the dark, so we are trying. If you bring Sputnik, please, we will sort out some of those problems once we have brought under control. this thing. But otherwise, I really don't think the danger in mixing the vaccines is bigger than the danger in having no vaccine at all.
Let's talk about...
So I can amount the president, they need to flood this region with these vaccines. We will take the rest, we will lead to the Lord Jehovah, the King of Kings, who created this body and knows that we are not all going to die.
Let's talk about your governor now, Alfred Nganga Mutua, as the reeling effects of the lockdowns and COVID containment measures in the Pentagon zones continue to affect citizens in these regions. Embu Governor Martin Wambora took to relieve his residents from land rates and business permits. His Machakos counterpart, Dr. Alfred Mutua, also did the same by going as far as striking a deal with the local investors to cut prices of basic commodities.
Mambo kumi, moja, 100% waiver of interest and penalties of land rates for a period of 45 days up to 15th of May 2021. Tunapunguza yale malipo ya mamamboga wakiuza kwenye soko zetu zote za Machakos, hawalipi hata kitu. Hiyo tumeondoa kabisa. Wa bodaboda operators, hakuna kulipa jambo lolote, wafanye kazi bila kulipa any fees. Hizo pesa waeke kwa mfuko, wasaidie familia zao.
What do you make of this move, and shouldn't the national government do something to that effect?
Yes, what I don't understand is how land rates are helping us. You know? Okay, it is good to have a discount for the bourgeoisie. But I think when it comes to negotiating with outlets so that there's reduced prices, there should be national government subsidy on unga, on sugar, on kerosene, on some of these things. That is what impacts. That's where the problem is now. That's where the difficulties are. And I can tell you, I told you my governor, Sir Alfred Nganga Mutua, he has very good ideas. Very good ideas. He can make a very good minister. A very good president, except he doesn't have a home in Wanjiku. But he's great. Those are the ideas that we want President Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta to embrace. At least unga, sugar, those ones. So that now that they have increased the price of fuel. And when you increase the price of oil, fuel, other things again become expensive. So they need to attack certain areas that would give relief to the ordinary mwananchi, not the super rich, the rally holders, those who can finance rallies regardless of COVID.
To the BBI, whether the Joint House Committee overseeing the passing of BBI bill resorts to hiring a neutral consultant firm to help them decide on whether or not they should effect some changes on the document before they vote it out. However, the latest revelations are that ODM claims there is a plot to edge them out of the BBI. Listen to this, Weda.
You want to tell ODM that BBI is not your document. Sasa hivi BBI ni document ya Wakenya wote, and you shall take it to the greater heights zenye nafaa iende kule.
You want to push ODM out of BBI by force. They have small boys who have come to town now who really want to push ODM out of BBI. ODM is one of the parties that have huge stake in the BBI as a party. How do you walk out of your own agenda?
Jeanette says some small boys are acting up and don't know the real people behind BBI. Who has the say on the BBI at the moment? And pray, would you happen to know who these small boys are?
Let Jeanette call them small boys. Let him call them small boys. And to use Muguna's word, Jeanette may be clueless. So those ones is calling small boys, he's going to cry in the toilet. Nobody's going to be edged out of BBI until after the BBI has passed. After the BBI is passed, it will be everybody for himself and God for us all. That is when Junaid Mohammed will realize that there are no small boys in big places. Big places only have big boys and big girls. So nobody's edging out ODM or whoever. Baba is still in. Even if he tries to go out, we will bring him in until BBI is passed. The only bottleneck I keep on telling you is that the court may surprise people. But other than that, I think it is en route to being passed.
Mm-hmm.
So Junet should be very careful as he talks. He will cry in the toilet one day.
As they say, Weda, in politics, there is no permanent enemy or friend, just interests. This is playing out as there seems to be a looming reunion between ODM leader Raila Odinga and Deputy President William Ruto ahead of 2022. Ruto is saying his ideological difference with the ODM party leader doesn't bar him from acknowledging the ideas they have in common.
Watu wengi wanaona ya kwamba niko na tofauti ya mawazo na former prime minister. Haya ni tofauti ya kisiasa, lakini mahali ninakubaliana na former prime minister. Yeye kama vile mimi tunaamini katika chama ya kitaifa. Kuna msukumo mkubwa saizi. Ford Kenya inaambiwa lazima iwe chama ya watu wa Western. ANC iwe chama ya watu wa Western. Watu wa Western wote mendeni pale. Hii ingine ya Wiper ikuwe chama ya watu wa Ukambani. Endeni pale. Nyinyi watu wa Coast endeni tengenezeni chama ya Coast. Lakini hawa ambao wanawaambia endeni mtengeneze chama ya kabila, kwa sababu ukianza safari ya kugawanya watu hautajua mahali ya kusimamia.
We're already hearing words like Ruto Pact. Others are calling it Rarua. Whether are we hearing a change of tact?
No. I think most of those words were said in anger. Raila himself feeling angry and feeling cheated sent his brother Oburu Odinga and his friend James Orengo to the forest somewhere, maybe after they came from Gotramogi forest, to send some threats that if you joke around with us, we can always walk over. You know, in a marriage, sometimes when people disagree, the spouses, they love saying, I can go back where I came from. I can go back to my other husband. I can go back to my other wife. That is it. Those are the tantrums. And then Ruto, on the other hand, trying to steal thunder from the announcement. Remember, there was an announcement of an alliance.
Yes.
An alliance of Mudavadi, Kalonzo, all these people. So the timing, he tried to steal thunder by saying, oh, even me, I can work with Baba. You know, the last time we worked with Baba, we took things. So these were statements made out of anger to send messages. Otherwise, and then I know also Ruto being a chief chicken seller, is very brilliant, very consummate. He is trying to build the good books of the Luo nation. The Luo nation, if Honorable Raila is not on the ballot, then the big chunk of the Luo votes, will they go to him or will they go to the alliance? So he's trying to be, that's why he says, oh, we can work, we have blah, 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 blah. Otherwise, the real alliances will come after the passing of BBI.
Let's stay with the alliances. The Mudavadi, Kalonzo, Wetangula and Gideon Moi faction is shaping up by the day to bid for the 2022 race to State House. It is said that this could be the secret plot to cut out Raila from exercising popularity in the One Kenya Alliance-dominated region and to confine him to his Nyanza backyard. Here is the message from the leaders.
We are taking these initial steps to bring the country together under the umbrella of One Kenya Alliance so that we can have a common objective.
Tuko tayari kabisa kuleta pumzi mpya. Wakenya wapumue hewa safi mpya.
We've got candidates in different by-election, which we've all agreed that as one alliance, we are going to pull them out.
Does this alliance, some call it Cerelac Alliance, does it have what it takes to edge out Raila Odinga?
No, unless they are backed by President Uhuru Kenyatta. Left on their own, they are lightweight. Take, for instance, Gideon Doktari, Kipchilei. Without the presidential backing and state power, the chief chicken seller will sell him to the passerbys. These are the people who have been there. The only thing that will make them, give them strength is a backing by the president, and then Honorable Raila also having issues. I keep on saying that what may stop Raila from being on the ballot is health issues. He's older, over 70-something years old. He's been in and out of hospital. When an old man is in and out of hospital, then he no longer is the candidate that can do 5, 6, 7 rallies in a day. He cannot traverse the country in a chopper on the road talking several hours. So this can be an impediment.
Mm-hmm.
So without this, if Baba was the 2007, 2013 Baba, mwenyewe, he would easily eat these guys because he has eaten them before. He has chewed them before, except the chicken seller and the son of Ngina. Those are the ones who have outwitted him. But otherwise, even when he was with the chicken seller in 2007, he outwitted President Kibaki. They had to do a abracadabra to retain power. So I think the biggest impediment is health and state sponsorship. So these people, they need President Uhuru so much, and they also need BBI. If those two are on their side, they will form a grand alliance that will shake the country, added to the fact that Baba will have been weakened. Otherwise, all things remaining constant, they would easily be eaten by the chief chicken seller.
Another big story as we bring the conversation to a close, Weda, is of the 3 radio presenters who found themselves on the wrong side of the law on gender matters. I'm sure you must have heard about this, Weda. Let's listen to the consequence of their action from the Communication Authority of Kenya.
The station exposed a victim of gender-based violence to ridicule and implied that it was the victim's fault that she was targeted and assaulted. The station also implied and breached the requirement to ensure that persons affected by tragedy and grief are treated with sensitivity, respect, and discretion.
Your thoughts on that, Weda? And even as you respond to that, one of the suspended presenters, Shafi Weru, through his lawyer, MMA Advocates, has since served his employer, Radio Africa Group, with a notice protesting his dismissal and demanding compensation for the damages. Does he have a case?
Oh, yes. You don't just sack people like that. Whatever wrong you have done, it has to be investigated. You have to be hard, and you are to be terminated using the laid down employment laws. They are very stringent in favor of employees. So there will be some consequences, notwithstanding the actions that they have done. Because the law spells out what would have to be fulfilled for you to be summarily dismissed. If it is something that they said and they did against third parties, against somebody else, it may not measure. It may be an offense for which you can be dismissed, but it could be an offense for which you cannot be summarily dismissed. So they will definitely have some recourse. What I don't understand is the speed. You know, the speed. You are sacked today, tomorrow. You want to go do all this. You have almost 6 years to do these things, and I always urge my class, let's be tactful. When you have done something that has risen public outcry, let things cool down, let things rest, and then after they have rested, you can go to court. Otherwise, even now, the judges and the magistrates, they are also living with us here. They are here. So when you go to court today, they look and say, oh, this is the guy. Oh, this is the lady. So tact is very, very critical.
And your thoughts about the CA's verdict on the media house?
Yes, I think...
Weda?
But the media house, the instruments, my view is that the instruments, they don't do wrong things. That microphone or this phone I'm using, it doesn't do anything wrong. It is the people themselves, and then once you have taken action against the individuals and you have done what ought to be done, and then the media house, they can change people, they can change stuff, they can be fined, and then the matter goes. Remember also we are in an economy, and that economy, there's employment opportunities, there are taxes, there are all these things. So sometimes we also I do not encourage emotional action, people emotion to answer to what the public wants or whatever. So I think there was a bit of excessive action to please emotional demands, which is not right if you look at the big picture.
Well, that's a good place to end the conversation this morning. Thank you so much, Weda, for your time.
Thank you so much, Julie.
Have a beautiful rest of the Holy Week at the lakeside.
Make sure you go for the jam.
I will.
Don't bring stories.
I will. Thank you very much, Weda. That's our regular analyst, Ambrose Weda, advocate of the High Court of Kenya, published author and mentor, and also canon in the Anglican Church. Weda, of course, is enjoying the Holy Week at the lakeside.